So go ahead.
I would like to address Mr. Cox. Thank you for your insightful comments. That was very interesting to hear what you said. In Buffalo and other Rust Belts, we see that we have some call of an urban flight, and the inner city core is deteriorating. Lots of people are moving out. Actually, if not, the whole region is shrinking, creating vacant lots and empty houses. And that's where many people think that the urban agriculture fits in, when basically houses are being torn down and you start creating urban farms on those lots. Have you given any thoughts on that subject? Because we see a lot of controversy around it. Some people like it, some people don't. And I would just like to hear what you say.
Actually, I have given that some thought for two reasons. One is, some years ago now, I actually had an opportunity to spend a few weeks in Cuba. And the urban agriculture system in Havana was amazing. And it was built on the model that you're describing, with the conversion of parking lots and unused land to production of food was really remarkable. I think there was a statistic in the material somewhere that something like 60% of the fresh fruits and vegetables consumed in Havana is produced within the city itself. So I think, and I have colleagues that are thinking about that same kind of model in Detroit, where there's a lot of the same sort of situation you've described in Buffalo. So I think if that system can create business opportunities and income opportunities for residents of the city, and at a scale that maximizes the number of individuals that are creating and sharing wealth, I think it has a lot of potential.
Anyone else want to speak to that on the panel? Okay. Who we got? Yes.
The question about, how much is urban agriculture, what percentage of that, when we think about local food, it's usually no more than 1%. It's pretty low, and not that it doesn't need to be higher in terms of energy expense and fuel expense and the environmental cost for all of us. And we want to see, this is the Pentagon, Plantagon is a, beautiful geodesic dome. Pentagon's an interesting structure too, but this is a beautiful geodesic dome full of life. But we also, need that verdant environment in order to deal with, the oxygen and the CO2 in our environment. So, I think that one of the things in terms of the United States history is such that, during World War II, there were victory gardens. And so, likewise, I think that, we should be advocating, and educating people how to go back to, growing for themselves as well in terms of, economic stability for their families and keeping the diversity within their communities, for physical activity, because, we have food deserts and we have food swamps. It's interesting, there was a slide there in India, and I caught KFC right there. I knew where I could get some fried chicken. And there are actually communities where there's so much fast food, so much fat-saturated food. And we have citizens, and increasingly from that are immigrating into the country, and their health is deteriorating as well. And some of it is our own overconsumption. We literally all overconsume. We literally create so much waste. And so that sort of mindset of how do we, change that? Everyone wants everything. Everyone wants more. More is not necessarily better. And that paradigm has to be shifted. But I thank you all. I enjoyed all your presentations.
One step further and say, I think it all comes down to leadership and values. Because the facts have been there for a long time. We all agree on the facts. And so the only questions I think that really remain, and it's not to say that everything is answered, but these are value choices. This is what we want our cities and our future to look like, and what we're willing to do to get there. And so it comes down to that in the end. I agree with you.
Hi, my name is Aine. I'm with the Praxis Project here in Washington, D.C. My question is, I guess, another follow-up, but it's mainly for Craig and Matthew, and kind of putting your two things together. One is, as we're talking about this, one is, it seems people think it's about educating people to know how to grow is one part of it, but also how do we make public land accessible so people can grow for people who want to grow and people who are already in these communities who already have the knowledge base to do so. You know, when we think about farm workers, we have a whole population of people who know how to grow things, who don't get paid really for what they grow. How can they grow for their own families within these urban settings, and really think about public space where people can garden?
Matthew, you want to start?
I'll start, and I'll base it on some of the experience we've had working with Baltimore City and their Office of Sustainability. They've done some great work around community agriculture, and similar to what the gentleman to some degree in Buffalo, from Buffalo was saying, I encourage you to reach out to them. They have huge different co-ops that have come together around these small community plots, both to get the food to the schools as well as to the families. And they've done it in some of the most, you just would not even believe, in some of the biggest, most intense inner city environments. You go down this back alley and there's this incredible garden of fresh vegetables and fresh cut flowers. And they really have begun to do it. They're not using public lands to do it yet, and I don't think that's something that we at the state level have fully wrestled with, and we haven't seen too many local governments doing that successfully either, but they have done it sort of around communal lands where people have come together to actively farm the land.
Well, two things, I think. I think one of the most exciting things happening in the Midwest is, you know, folks, young people who want to farm, it's very difficult now to break into the, you know, the conventional corn and soybean side of agriculture unless you're from a family that owns land already, just given the cost of that, the cost of the land and machinery required to get into that business at a scale that's required to make a decent living. But those folks are finding really interesting ways into farming via local food and organic food and community supported agriculture and farmers markets and little co-ops. And so I think that's kind of a generally unremarked phenomenon that is extremely encouraging and is sort of happening almost under the radar of public policy. And I just find it very encouraging that kind of development is happening, at least where I live. On the farm worker side, I think that question of economic and social justice for the people involved in the labor of our current food system is really a critical question, and one that does not receive the attention it deserves. And it's a much bigger question, I think, than farm workers. I mean, you know, the folks that are laboring in our slaughterhouses and, you know, a lot of the other raw physical labor that goes into our current food system is, there's not, I don't think, necessarily a lot of economic and social justice there, and that needs to change.
If you didn't see it, there was a story, I think, in last Sunday's Times about the issue of young farmers getting going on a very local, small basis. You could find it easily, I think, online. Lennart, are you?
Hello, I'm Bill Hare, and I'm the Associate Director of the Cooperative Extension Service at the University of the District of Columbia in the College of Agriculture, Urban Sustainability, and Environmental Sciences. And I think this is extremely interesting, especially just being in Washington, D.C. And I'm sorry you weren't able to find fruits and vegetables on the. Imagine being an affluent area and you can't find it. So imagine Ward 7 and Ward 8.
Yeah.
But this is what we've been focused on, urban agriculture, but from a different perspective, looking at changing behavior. I think, like what Tony said, you know, people first. The bottom line is, how do you get people to change this behavior that they've adapted over so many years to eat and make healthy food choices? So we work with community gardens. And I think the question was, how do you have access to land? Well, we partner with public land. Right, public land. So we partner with the local government, DC Parks and Rec. And right now we have 37 community gardens in the district. And each of these gardens may have up to 300 to 400 small gardeners. But our focus is providing technical assistance just to enhance that ability to not only grow the crop, but minimize the amount of pesticide use. Look at alternative methods to increase their yield, and at the same time, encourage healthy eating. So in our extension service, we have our Center for Sustainability that includes from gardening to water quality, but again, managing natural resources. And we have a Center for Nutrition, Diet, and Health, along with our 4-H and Youth Development Program. And we integrate these three to actually reach out to the community. And I think this is extremely important because, again, adapting new and innovative methods of growing food, thinking outside the box, looking at vertical gardening, especially in places where you have limited land area. I will encourage Planted Gone. We do have a grain roof on top of one of our major buildings, and you know that is something you could put a demonstration site to bring in residents to determine how they can utilize space effectively. And I'm just impressed, and I think partnership is extremely important. So look to the land-grant universities. That's the public university that's mandated to serve the people. And we can support in any way to ensure that some of the technologies that you're providing can be implemented, and we will look forward to working with you. Thank you.
I might just take this moment, during the break, the coffee break, the too brief coffee break, one member of the audience asked if I knew how far along any of the 3 projects that I believe Plantagon actually has in progress are, and I wondered if perhaps Magnus could address that question, or Simon.
Absolutely. My name is Magnus Hjelmare. I'm the communications officer at Plantagon. I took the time to call the CEO, Hans Hassle, back in Sweden during the break, and he to get the latest information. And the 3 projects that we mentioned before: Singapore, Shanghai, and Linköping. And the status for Singapore is that we are right now doing preparatory work. We're preparing hard bird at the end of the day, together with the government in Singapore. So we have chosen a location. We have sent engineers from Sweco, Alessio Bocco, our head engineer. He was down there 2 weeks ago. So the preparatory work is in full action. And in Shanghai, we have reached month 3 in a number of 9 months that is needed to be done in the preparatory work there. And finally, in Linköping, this is where we have come farthest. On November 27th this year, we will put the spade in the dirt, so to speak. We will start construction. So Linköping in Sweden, 100 kilometers from Stockholm, will be the first place where we will erect one vertical greenhouse. So that's the answer to that question.
What will be the scale of that facility?
That greenhouse will be 36 meters. That's about 100 feet.
A little over 100 feet, yeah.
Over 100
High?
feet in diameter, and also high. And that will be a test facility that we will build together with a number of companies, including Sweco and Tekniska Verken. And Tekniska Verken, they have a bio power plant where they burn waste products. So they produce CO2 and biogas. And we will use both these products and put into the greenhouse the CO2 for the plants and the biogas for heating the plant, which is needed in our climate up north. And when we are done with the farming, the waste products will be burned in the same power plant. So we will form a symbiotic circle with this power plant. So that's one idea, that how we will solve the energy issue, to build it close to some other industry that have waste products that they need to get rid of. Yeah.
Thank you. Shall we do one more question and then break for refreshments? Or just break for refreshments? Well, I don't see a hand, so I want to thank... Oh, where? I missed it. Sorry. Okay, back there.
Hi. I'm happy to be here as well. My name is Dimitrova, and I work for the District of Columbia Public School System. I'm European, and I wanted to address the problem with education in the United States. When I first made my 3 gardens on a row, 3 years, one after another, and found out that the children are very, very happy, and it's a very good educational experience and very good horticultural experience, and very good horticultural therapy for the children. Then the disappointment came, and the new administration of DCPS was actually supporting more the testing system, a lot of administrative work, and the garden was banned. Now, how do we want our next generation to know how to grow food? The only one way is to teach them in school. Why? When I first came and bought a house in Northeast, the first thing that I did, I brought the cement and I put together my garden. My local neighbor said that I'm crazy. There was an old lady who, I also have a real cherry tree, asked me if I'm sure that I'm eating something that is not poisonous, and she's been there 20 years. Real cherry tree, real cherries. So it means that the people don't know, and don't know how, but when my students learn how, they were so happy to share with me that they would put together gardens for their grandmas. They would put together gardens to enjoy, to eat fresh food. The first time in their lives they ate fresh watermelons, fresh tomatoes. They first saw how a sunflower flower turned to seeds. Said, how come there were several different sunflower plants? How come these flowers could turn to these things? And this is how I could teach pollination, cross-pollination, fertilization, and all those things that we're usually drawing with curtains down in the schools. There's no light. Oh, smartboard, yes. Technology, yes. But not real gardening. And if we miss this generation, with this climate change, I think, I don't want to say we're lost, I don't want to be pessimistic, but I think that we should hurry up and encourage a new subject that needs to be taught in schools. Either part of environmental science. Environmental science is not a must subject. We need to teach the children. We need to have more horticultural topics in science, but it should be maybe from the top, from the Department of Education, from the government. Otherwise, the teachers would be buried under administrative load, and we will remain without educating our children in what is the real taste of fruit and how to produce fresh food in urban settings. Just a thought.
I think that's a great note to close on. I mean, it's both a note of encouragement and optimism, and also one that gives us a sense of the challenge that lies ahead. So I would like to one more time thank all of our speakers for all of their marvelous insights. My brain is full in the best possible way, so thank you.